Well, supra-hard cataracts definitely pose a challenge to us because the cataract is big, it doesn't mold, and it's thick, and to get it out through an incision which is self-sealing obviously has its own problems. Add to this, with supra-hard cataracts, we have to deal with them almost every day, and they often come with other problems like a small pupil. Usually the patients are senile, and as Dr. Raju pointed out, iris hooks or pupil expanders can help us visualize, because the primary thing we need in a supra-hard cataract is a big incision on the lens, meaning a big rhexis. So, to ensure a big rhexis, you have to visualize, because otherwise, yes, we are experienced enough to do an under the pupil rhexis, but most of the time it may not be. I'll show you a situation where a complication like this happens. What Dr. Raju pointed out is extremely important, because before we try to remove the nucleus out of the capsular bag, we must get these devices out, because otherwise it will become a big mess in the eye. Zonular weakness again accompanies these hard cataracts, and as Dr. Raju said, you can hook the capsules and fix the zonules, but at the point of removing the prolapsing the nucleus out of the bag, you have to get the capsular hooks out. Of course, at the end of the procedure, we can always stabilize the bag with CTR, and even with Ciani's fixation CTRs. Now, endothelial weakness, so we have to be careful about the endothelium. Coat it with some good viscoelastic if required. Shallow AC is again a problem, because these patients having a big nucleus will have a shallow AC, and we must ensure, at times when the nucleus doesn't prolapse, there is a tendency at our end that we would keep it half in the bag and half in the anterior chamber and give a visco protection on either way and pull it out. But if you have a shallow AC and a big nucleus, you don't know how big it is, how thick it is, you can end up with an inferior iridodialysis. So big rhexis is perhaps the key. We have to get in. Don't bother about the zonules. You have to give, because if the nucleus is 8 millimeters, you have to have a rhexis of 7 millimeters. That's the maximum the rhexis can stretch. And of course, then comes the incisional problems, that we need to have an incision which is big enough and yet self-sealing. I will be discussing a concept where you can actually take the incision down and have a big internal incision or a corneal valve, which is actually the self-sealing component of the incision. And of course, there are phaco-fracture techniques. I will be talking on our phaco-fracture technique, which is the snare technique. So this is a case. The first thing, we need to stain these capsules, because the glow is not good and you don't know how much of a rhexis actually you have ended up doing. So the surgeon here does a rhexis, intends to do a big one. You can follow the rhexis margin. I think, of course, in the microscope you see better. But eventually, to look at, you will feel that probably this cataract is not that hard enough or that big enough, so let's not worry about it. So you do a hydrodissection as usual, burp out a little bit of fluid to see that you don't blow out the posterior capsule. That is important also in hard cataracts where hardly any space in the capsular bag. You rotate the nucleus to make sure everything is fine. Now, there is a desperate attempt. There is a disproportion between the rhexis and the nucleus. Now, this is too much. We are disturbing the zonules, in fact. So the surgeon gives another try and tries to slip the rhexis on the equator of the nucleus, but that was not to happen. So I'll tell you, the way of enlarging a rexis. Sometimes, you can do a onion whorl and all that, but that is too tricky. You saw you can enlarge it with the micro scissors or a Vanus. But the best way is, because the visibility goes low, so give multiple cuts. If you give 1-2 cuts, when you are prolapsing the big nucleus, that cut will extend beyond the equator, and you might have a tear extending to the posterior capsule. So give multiple cuts, be liberal about it, and I assure you, you still get the bag integrity after the lens removal. So, nudge the nucleus a little bit, and the surgeon is trying to prolapse it out with that, but then that's the way. Now you see that the same nucleus is so easily coming out, but be very careful about this nucleus to the rexis disproportion. If there is anything, just sacrifice the rexis the way I think this is the best way to sacrifice the rexis. Of course, if you are skilled enough, you can always do a second rexis outside that. Now, as I was trying to impress, that the cataracts are not only wide, they are thick. So some cataracts may be as high as 4.5 millimeters thick. So we have to accommodate that thickness. Now let us see the construction, or let me discuss about this concept, where actually, suppose the cornea is about 11.5-12 millimeters wide to wide. Now, if we take the nucleus size to be something around this, and mind you, it's thick also, it's going to occupy that space also. So now the biggest which one is the pointer? The biggest size of the corneal valve is somewhere here. We cannot get a good valve. The opening will be only this much, which will be about, say, 6.57. So here we can get the maximum. So that is how the incision is planned. So because it is very important for us to preserve the corneal valve and see that it doesn't extend beyond the limbus, because the moment it goes to the limbus and the sclera comes into the valve, the whole flap valve action is lost, and the integrity of the very purpose of small incision surgery is defeated. So this is perhaps the wound construction, and through this, the nucleus should come out. So trying to, and then we'll show a video on that. This is a very hard cataract. When it comes out, you'll realize. And essentially the construction of the incision is important. You have to go slowly with the scleral part first, then take the incision, the corneal valve and the scleral dissection a little bit down to the 3 and 9 o'clock region. That is important because we need a big internal opening. In these hard cataracts, sometimes we are trapped that the incision, that the nucleus doesn't come into the incision. It has to come into the internal incision if we don't want to fracture it. There are techniques of fracturing the nucleus, and of course, this first entry is also vital. If you go a little this side, if it is not parallel to the external incision, the corneal entry, then you will, you cannot carry it down like this. Because if it is important that you carry the incision down and probably turn the keratome a little bit all the time so that you don't slip to the limbus. The same. This is to show the end of the corneal incision. So it is from here to here. So once you've done an incision like this, I think you have done the best. Anything bigger than this can actually, you are going to lose the corneal valve. So you have to give a suture, and the self-sealing nature of the whole thing will not be available. So just see how easily it comes out. So, and you just press the posterior lip, and it's a real thick and hard and big one. So we find this, and at the end of the surgery, you have to press here to check on the wound integrity and not on the sides, because this is the vulnerable part of the incision which should be watertight after you complete the surgery and leave the patient. So, but then again, it's always a better exercise to be more liberal with the incision than, to get stranded with it and damage the endothelium, fracture the nucleus in the anterior chamber in an unplanned way, and rub the endothelium, spoil the incision, and if required, give sutures. The other thing is our technique of fracturing the nucleus by a snare. This is simply made by 2 IV needles and the first string of the Hawaiian guitar, which is the A1 string. So this is there are a lot of videos. So essentially, in this technique, now the nucleus, these wires cut very smoothly through into the incision with a crocodile forceps. Then you can just take each fragment out, and of course, a little bit of visco protection on either side. Now this is somebody would say, we could do it through a 3 millimeter or a 4 millimeter incision. No, sorry, because the cataract, when it is hard, will be 4 to 5 millimeters thick. So the loop has to be at least 5 millimeters, otherwise it won't turn and engage the the whole thickness of the nucleus. So that is also important, and you should not be turning the snare until you have reached the equator of the lens. Follow the next thing. See, you cannot turn now, you have to turn after you have engaged, gone beyond the equator. The lasso has gone beyond the equator of the lens, then only you can turn it down. So the essentially using a snare just to minimize the incision size, which we often try to do, is probably not a good concept. We should restrict ourselves to hard cataracts where we have made an adequate incision, and yet the nucleus is too big and it cannot be brought out, and we are going to compromise on the self-sealing nature of this. So that's where you go straight up and then turn only when you have reached the equator, and the thickness of the loop has to be 4 to 5 millimeters, because otherwise when you turn down you can actually disrupt the zonules if you hit the anterior part of the lens of the nucleus. Now if I if I turn before, I'm going to hit the some part of the anterior part of the lens, and the lens is going to dip and cause a zonular dehiscence. So this is a very useful technique. We follow it whenever we are in trouble, and it's very easily made. It's available with some manufacturers. I can tell you it's a very cheap thing, so you can go with Joja Surgicals. They make these snares, and you can make it on your own. So of course this is the making of the snare. I think I'll skip it, Dr. Dhariwal. So you just take 2 IV needles and then blunt the tip of the IV needles by rubbing on any hard thing, the pumic stones, the one the grinders use to sharpen their instruments, and then you rub the sides. Then you are actually creating 2 openings on the side, 2 hubs. You've seen? So if you rub it, you can do that. So blunt the tips and see that it's perfect. Now you take the A1 string of the banjo wire, put it through one of the hubs, right? Then you make a loop and put it through the other hub. Now the both ends come out from the hub of the IV needle. Now you take another IV needle, you blunt it and put those open ends of the snare into the second needle. Now you can press these the second needle a little bit. Your OT assistants would be very happy to do that and help you out. and keep them ready. So this is the whole thing, when you go, you just pull with one hand and it will constrict, that's it. So, otherwise, did you get anything? You want a question, we'll take it, no problem.